Hello and welcome, everyone. My name is Andre. I'm a part of the faculty affairs team here at UAGC, and I'll be the host for this session, Crafting the Collective Why. By joining us today, you acknowledge that this session is being recorded and will be shared with TLC-related materials. Microphones will be muted for this presentation, but we encourage you to post questions and comments in the chat. We have also enabled live transcription. If you'd like to use it, please click the Show Captions button at the bottom of your Zoom window. Now, without further ado, I'm very pleased to introduce our presenter. Marjorie Rosen has been a respected global speaker and thought leader in the health information field for more than 25 years, with more than 25 years of experience spanning hospitals, public health, clinical trials, long-term care, and academic leadership. As Chief Learning Officer at Educational Resolutions, EdRes, Marjorie leads national and international initiatives that integrate personal identity development, gratitude practices, and leadership coaching. Her work centers on helping individuals align personal growth with organizational goals, fostering cultures of reflection, resilience, and continuous learning. Marjorie is known for her innovative approach to professional development and has received multiple awards recognizing her contributions to the workforce advancement and process improvement. She's currently pursuing a doctorate in education with a specialization in healthcare leadership, further deepening her commitment to empowering individuals and teams to thrive through intentional, values-driven development. Marjorie, thank you so much for being with us today. Please take it away.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So welcome to Crafting the Collective Why. As you said, my name is Marjorie Rosen. I'm the Chief Learning Officer at EdRes and on our journey today. Next slide, please. When there is a genuine vision, people excel and learn, not because they're told to, but because they want to. And that is what today we're going to discuss about with Peter Senge. Next slide, please. We're going to discover on today's journey, we're going to understand the discipline of shared vision. We're going to link vision to motivation theory, such as self-determination theory and expectancy theory, explore some real-world examples. We're going to help you see how you build your team's shared vision and then provide tools for sustained engagement. And finally, at the end, we'll have a question and answers. Next slide. We will discuss in detail today what is shared vision. When we talk about shared vision, we're talking about more than a set of goals. It's about crafting a collective why, a reason that everybody believes in and feels connected to. Peter Senge defines shared vision as the collective sense of purpose that energizes an organization and connects individual aspirations to a larger mission. This means that at its core, shared visions are your own personal aspirations plus organizational goals that equal to shared vision. A fascinating 2022 study in the management decision journey examined how leaders inspired creativity. The researchers found that teams flourished when leaders demonstrated self-sacrificial leadership. These leaders genuinely put the shared mission first. What made the biggest difference wasn't just the leader's actions, it was the team's shared vision. The study showed that the shared vision increases when leadership's behavior fosters, such as in self-sacrificial leadership. This suggests that vision is not simply given, but emerges through leadership and team processes. Shared vision acted as both a motivator and a multiplier. It turned effort into innovation and aligned everyone's energy towards a common purpose. This perfectly echoes Senge's idea that when people share a vision, they learn and act because they want to, not because they have to. So today, as we explore the collective why, remember this. The most innovative teams don't just share goals, they also share belief. Our task is to build that belief together. Next slide. At the heart of Peter Senge's fifth discipline is a powerful idea, systems thinking. This is the discipline that integrates all others. It's what allows personal mastery, shared vision, team learning, and mental models to function together, not in isolation. Without systems thinking, organizations fall into silos. Individuals chase separate goals, feedbacks gets lost, and even great ideas fail to scale. With systems thinking, leaders and team can see patterns, connections, and leverage points to sustain long-term success. So what exactly is systems thinking? Systems thinking is both a mindset and a methodology. It helps us to see how interdependent parts of an organization interact over time rather than viewing problems as isolated events. Senge describes it as the ability to see the whole rather than the parts, to recognize that behavior is often driven by structure, not just by individuals. In the context of shared vision, system thinking helps us understand that a vision isn't maintained by a slogan. It's maintained by systems, feedback loops, and cultural patterns that reinforce it daily. Bowie and Baruch expanded on this idea beautifully in their study, Creating Learning Organizations, a Systems Perspective. They argued that systems thinking provides the architecture for organizational learning, integrating individual, team, and institutional growth into one cohesive model. So let's ground this in a real example. My background is health information, health informatics, in healthcare and health operations administrations. So most of my cases that I will discuss today will be related to that. I know there are lots of other areas out there, but my expertise is in that. So here's my example. In one healthcare education college, departments were operating in silos. You had faculty development, you had accreditation, and you had student engagement that all had different priorities. Does this sound like possibly you relate to? When leadership introduced systems thinking, they began mapping interdependencies, showing how student success metrics were also influenced by faculty support, curriculum design, and even IT systems. Oftentimes, when working with students online, we find that everything's going great until something breaks down and we're all running to IT. But we don't recognize its role when we design things sometimes. And that's where this example comes into. So the single systems map became the foundation of a shared vision. It showed where every process leads to learner success. So what was the result? First, there was collaborative problem solving. That collaborative problem solving helped to replace blame cycles. It's very easy to say, okay, well, it broke down because IT, a link in there and no one knows what to do. And the blame cycles continue. But we were able to move from that and be collaborative. And then second, engagement rose across departments because we started to see the value. We started to see what everybody brought to the process and how everything worked and how each widget within the clogs of the big machine worked together. That itself mirrors what Bowie and Baruch describe. When system thinking is applied, feedback flows freely, alignment strengthens, and shared visions becomes actionable. And that was kind of cool. So here's something to reflect on, and I'd love to see this in the chat. Where in your organization do you see fragmentation? These are areas where goals or communication feels disconnected. Take a minute. Where in your organization do you see fragmentation? These could be goals or communications that end up feeling disconnected. It takes a minute to kind of think it through and say, well, maybe how do I feel? What does it look like? Another question that you might want to answer in the chat here is how might a systems map or a cross-functional dialogue help reveal hidden interdependencies? How might a systems map or cross-functional dialogue help reveal hidden interdependencies? Okay. Well, usually in organizations, we see a lot of times people feel disconnected in communication, sometimes in communication coming down. Oh, awesome. In academic affairs, we support nearly 2,000 associate faculty development needs. Often we try to identify our biggest need for the group. However, I'm looking forward to collaborating more with each individual program leader to determine the needs of the faculty population and providing more targeted professional development opportunities. Yes. We also have dialogue at least brings to conversations, and conversations can lead to discovering silos. Awesome. There's a distinct divide between admissions, marketing, and registrar's office. The goals of each are different and often conflict. We have done a Kaizen process analysis, but find that groups or even individuals do things their own way, and we have a lack of consistency and difficulty scaling. Julie, I will say that when I worked within a university, I felt that struggle. And you're right. They all have very different goals and they often conflict. Absolutely. The goal statements of work aims processes have not been clear from individuals and may not have been received as helpful. Yes, I see that communication tends to be where this breaks down. Absolutely. We do see that. And I also see that sometimes it feels like telephone, right? The organization or the leaders of the organization have a vision in mind, but as it goes through telephoning down, that that whole idea, the whole process looks completely different from when it started. Yes, absolutely. So now, thank you for all of this. We're going to bring it back to shared vision. A vision becomes sustainable only when systems support it and it's being reinforced. As Senge says, a shared vision provides the focus and energy for learning, but it's systems thinking that provides the understanding of how to sustain it. So, in other words, shared vision gives us the direction, and systems thinking ensures that we don't lose our way. It's how the collective why stays coherent, even as people, processes, and priorities evolve. Next slide, please. Motivation foundations. So, self-determination theory proposes that humans are most motivated when three psychological needs are met: autonomy, so the need to feel directed and empowered; competence, the need to feel capable and effective; and relatedness, the need to feel connected and valued. Shared vision fulfills all three of these. When people co-create a vision, they experience autonomy. They see their voices in the outcome. When they align their goals with that vision, they experience competence, which means their contributions matter. When they see themselves as part of something bigger, they experience relatedness, which is that sense of belonging and purpose. Research by Wingerden and Furdenstoop and Stoop and Rose shows that when work feels meaningful, employees exhibit higher engagement, creativity, and well-being, and that create outcomes that naturally sustain shared vision. Where self-determination theory focuses on internal drives, expectancy theory explains motivation through cognition, how people perceive the relationship between effort, performance, and reward. According to Vroom, motivation equals expectancy times instrumentality times valence, where expectancy is the belief that effort leads to performance. Instrumentality is the belief that performance leads to outcomes. And valence is the value placed on those outcomes. Similarly, shared vision strengthens all three of these. It increases expectancy by clarifying goals and directions. It reinforces instrumentality by showing how each person's work contributes to collective success. And it enhances valence by connecting outcomes to purpose, making the personal work meaningful. In other words, shared vision transforms routine effort into purpose-driven effort. When we put self-determination theory and expectancy theory together, we see that motivation lives at the intersection of meaning and clarity. SDT provides the emotional fuel, which means people feel ownership, connection, and growth. Expectancy theory provides the structural framework. Therefore, people understand how their action leads to valued results. Shared vision ties all these together. It gives emotional meaning to structure and structure to emotional meaning. As Shu et al. Found, teams that operated with a strong shared vision showed significantly higher levels of creativity and engagement because members believed their contributions mattered and were aligned with collective goals. That's motivation in action, where both heart and head are aligned. Let's look at a real example. And this is real time, so I'm sorry if you heard my dog just say hello to the mailman. I apologize. In a student engagement initiative within an organization, team members initially view their tasks as being isolated, such as they were managing competitions or coordinating projects or updating materials. The engagement was low. So through a shared vision building exercise, they were able to reframe their purpose. And their purpose became inspiring the next generation of data-driven healthcare leaders. Suddenly, each task had meaning. A student registration email wasn't just administration work. It was a chance to outreach to a future professional. Engagement rose, deadlines improved, and new ideas started to emerge. Why? Because team members saw a direct connection between their individual efforts and the impact that they valued. Reframing back to that purpose, inspiring the next generation of data-driven healthcare leaders. Everything that they do relates to that, and they're contributing to a bigger, a collective. And that's the power of motivation through shared vision. It builds intrinsic purpose and meets systems clarity. As leaders and educators, we can activate these motivational systems in simple but some powerful ways. We can invite participation in vision creation, builds autonomy, recognize contributions, builds the competence, foster collaboration, relatedness. When all these conditions are present, motivation becomes self-sustaining. Teams don't just follow a vision, they own it. How many times, would you like your own team and your own individual contributors to own the process so that you can feel confident and give them their projects and know that it's going to be done? So we're going to pause here for a second. We're going to do some more participation. And I'm going to ask you, what drives your motivation at work? Autonomy, mastery, purpose, connection? What is it? Share in the chat. What drives your motivation at work? Is it autonomy, mastery, purpose, connection, something different? Oh, we've got a purpose, connection. Very nice. Autonomy. Yes. It's so very interesting because I personally align to both purpose and autonomy. Like I want my work and what I do to have purpose, but when I am given a task, I want autonomy. So yes, get it. Oh, that's awesome. Okay. So how do your organizations reinforce or block those motivational needs? Oh, we got another one. Purpose. To really help our students with transfer as an FYE instructor. I also really like to demonstrate my competence. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah. The other question was, how does your organization reinforce or block those motivational needs? When I first started working as a program director and then as a dean, I remember sitting with the president and I remember him saying, like, Marjorie, what I would really like to see is a healthcare kingdom. And I remember saying, a healthcare kingdom, it doesn't happen overnight. It's going to take at least 5 years for me to build that. He said, and it takes resources and a lot of getting out of my way. And the first 3 years were rough. And after the 3 years, once the foundation was built, we started actually doing some very, very cool things. But yeah, it was exactly that. So, our organization helped to reinforce my own personal and, motivational needs by allowing me to align to what the overall desire was a healthcare kingdom. And a healthcare kingdom means I had to build programs. And so I built 6 different programs during my time there and built that, which was kind of cool. So even though we are remote, we have so many systems in place to keep us connected and to have the important conversations we need to have. I do like Zoom and Teams for that, to be able to like instantly chat, because you're right, remote systems really, you need to have that. We literally have zero employee training and no employee recognitions. I've been at my company for 17 years and my awesomeness has never really been recognized. Julie, you're awesome. You are awesome. It does need to be, and leaders need to hear that too. Absolutely. You're right. Let's go to the next slide. Showing this shared vision. Why does it matter? Why does it matter for leaders? Because it transforms effort into aligned impact. Ho showed that shared vision helped teams move from isolated tasks to collective learning. When you hear stop operating in a silo, that's what they mean. And it took me a very long time to understand that when they say stop operating in a silo, I constantly thought that I was communicating and I was communicating up. But what I also found too was that if my supervisor or my boss also wasn't communicating the collective why and why we're doing this and why do we need these resources, that could also be a stopgap. But the shared vision becomes a roadmap to help get away from silos. Alvarado and Alvarado Alvarez and team show that when vision is shared, trust is present. Teams handle conflict more constructively, and that enhances the performance. Remember a time when you might have done some team building exercises. Was it easier to work and collaborate with your team afterward? What do you think? I remember the first time that I did the one of those team exercises, and it was the trust exercise of falling. I would say that but when I got on the platform, everything like that, I was sweating. I was sweating because in my work history, trust was not something that I had built. And so this was an opportunity to build that. and it was very scary. I was shaking. No, you're not a huge fan of trust exercises. Yes, they're hard. They're hard. Yes, that was very scary for me. I remember shaking and sweating, and then being like, "Oh my God, okay." But I also remember in an organization that I worked at that was one of their core values was trust, and I still remember to this day. And it was, you know, trust and be trusted. Always have, always remember and have that person has good intentions. And that was really hard. And it took a few years for me to actually start to build that. And as I started to build that, I started sharing or creating my own visions with people and saying, well, ultimately, what we want to build is this healthcare kingdom, and it's going to take a lot of work, and I need your help. Yes, you're a fan of building trust, not just fan of trust exercise. That's true. I agree with you. They don't always feel genuine. It really depends on what it is. I did some gratitude projects, and I've done it with certain organizations. And I will tell you that when we first start, and I always tell everybody the same thing, I said, when we start with gratitude, we have to begin with trust, and we also have to create a safe space that what you say here will not go past these walls. And in the first exercise, no matter where I'm at, there's a moment of silence for at least what feels like an eternity, but in reality is probably 30 to 45 seconds until someone speaks and they say something and it breaks the awkwardness. And then eventually, as we start talking about what is the vision, what is the vision, what is the vision, people over time, as we go through the whole process, they become very connected because gratitude replaces some of the fear and the emotions and stuff, which has been kind of cool. Okay. Something that's probably most compelling is Shu et al. They found that when leaders model service and the team embraces a shared vision, creativity goes up. This means that your investment in building a shared vision is not just a feel good, it's strategic in nature, and leaders need to understand that. Oftentimes, when we ask for money for resources for team building, leaders may say, "Well, this is just a feel good piece." I'm like, "No, no, no, it's strategic. It's going to bring engagement. It it really builds this, do what I do method versus do what I say method. And we start to build buy-in that way. Martin et al. Reminds us providing orientation and meaning via vision is key to sustain change. So if you're leading a team, crafting a shared vision is probably one of your most potent levers. Next slide, please. We're going to do a case study snapshot. So let me tell you about a team that mirrors challenges many of us have faced. It's great people. People are wonderful, but there is low morale and there's also fragmented focus. At a work group at a national association, we faced fragmented priorities, inconsistent communication, and low morale after a period of rapid organizational change. So leadership was constantly changing, and it felt like we were ping-ponging back and forth. Oh, the vision is now over here. Oh, wait, we've been working on this for a year and a half. Nope, now we've got to pivot to someplace else. Nope, now we change again. And so when there's consistent and there's constant change over what the vision is, morale goes low. So each sub-team continued to work diligently, but in isolation. Members expressed confusion about the group's overarching purpose and how the work contributed to larger goals. Feedback indicated declining engagement and burnout symptoms. Someone said, we have great people, but no clear compass. Have you ever experienced that before? Great people, their work is quality, but we don't know where we're going. I think in several of the organizations, when there's rapid change, I've seen a lot of that. If your own supervisor is not aligned to the company goals and doesn't show how the department is aligned to the company goals, you lose your compass, you lose your North Star in that. Yeah, it says if I don't have a vision, it's difficult to know what your work is supposed to or how you're contributing. I absolutely agree. Because you feel because you lose that connectedness, you lose the relatedness. Uh, if one of my core values is, the desire to have purpose, it feels like busy work. Like everything you're giving me is busy work, and you just want me to do something. I don't know what is it actually going to contribute in the overall. So to restore alignment, the leadership team launched something called peer-led vision circles. They were small, facilitated discussions where members reflected on why their work mattered, how individual contributions aligned within the organization's broader mission. So we had to have the mission right there in front of us, and then we had to show each piece to it. We had what a shared future might look like in collaboration by discussing it, constantly talking about, okay, how do I contribute to this? Or how does my work contribute to this? Each circle was guided by prompts grounded in Senge's shared visions, discipline, and informed by those motivational theories. One, self-determination theory. It was really important to support autonomy and relatedness, and expectancy theory, clarifying the link between effort and meaningful outcomes. The effort that we put in creates this outcome, and this outcome aligns this way. So then, rather than having a top-down directives, all of us created a collective purpose statement. And that was later visualized as what we called the team's vision map. It was a really great thing to be able to have a team's vision map, even if things were to change above our department. The team's vision map helped us stay aligned within each other and what we were doing. Within 3 months, collaboration again started to increase. Cross-team communication became more proactive and solution-oriented. Members reported greater clarity with purpose and understanding how their tasks connected to strategic outcomes. Innovation emerged organically. So we started to see new process ideas. We started to see more integrated workflows. And those integrated workflows were then becoming the model for other departments. A pulse survey showed that there was a 37% increase in team morale, and 50% more participated in voluntary initiatives. These outcomes mirrored Shu et al.'s findings that shared vision mediates leadership behaviors and amplifies creativity and engagement. Every leader knows that talented people can still pull in different directions. In this case, the issue wasn't skill, it was the connection. So when we talked about it earlier and we said we wanted the connectedness, we wanted that piece of it, that's what we felt. We felt like we were disconnected to the vision. We felt like we didn't have that North Star. And so that's one of the ways we built that. Next slide. Now, let's talk through the collective why framework, the process of turning purpose into shared energy. First, explore. I want you to think of your own personal why. What makes you show up for work? Maybe it's helping students succeed. Maybe it's improving data quality or shaping the future of health information. I wake up and I'm like, ooh, health information, let it change the world. Elicit. What we do is we collect those ideas and we look for overlap. We start to see maybe words such as trust, integrity, impact, as those different pieces and those different words come together, they start to connect themes for your team. Envision. Together, as a group, imagine your best case future. What does success look like and feel like? Picture your team known for X, such as one of my teams, they came up with their picture and they wanted to be known as transforming healthcare through information excellence. It's kind of neat. Engage. Now plan one tangible action that brings that vision to life. Maybe you can start it this quarter or next quarter. You know, maybe host a student faculty vision circle or co-design data literacy challenge with your stakeholders. By engaging them, you also get a whole new perspective and they feel like they're part of the cohesive collective. And then embed. Finally, we make it stick. You do this by integrating the shared vision into daily practices. You could start meetings with a 1-minute why story or post a vision where everyone sees it daily. As Shuidal found, when teams co-create and revisit a shared vision, engagement, creativity, and alignment all grow. I like the idea of starting off something where everybody discusses, you know, how their work connects to the overall. I know in some of my meetings that I've had with some of the teams, I always share like first the purpose. Here's the purpose. This is what we need to get to. Does anybody want to share how their work contributes to that? And again, in the beginning, it's a little awkward. No one knows. No one knows what to say or how to build it until there's a brave soul that starts it. And then we keep going. I'm like, awesome, great. And then the next time we come together, next time, and it just continues to build. So you don't have to have the same person say it over and over again. And that's the part that's really nice. Next slide, please. So now that we've explored the why and the framework of shared vision, let's move into the how. These are the tools that help teams move from inspiration to implementation. Each one transforms shared vision from a one-time statement into a living practice. These 4 tools: vision circles, narrative alignment maps, shared vision campus, and feedback loops are all grounded in shared vision and are supported by empirical work showing how shared purpose fuels creativity and engagement. Together, they operationalize the collective why framework and sustain alignment in complex systems. So let's begin with vision circles. These are structured, peer-led conversations where individuals share their personal why, what drives them, what they value, what they hope to achieve together. This approach draws directly from self-determination theory, which highlights autonomy, competence, and relatedness as they are the building blocks of intrinsic motivation. In practice, if you wanted to do this, you could do this in a 45-minute small group session where team members complete prompts like, I am here because X. The impact I want my work to have, or our work to have, is Y. One example from a health informatics team was that members discovered a shared passion for accuracy that saves lives. A member stated that, and that phrase became their collective anchor, the emotional heartbeat of their work. It was neat. It was very cool. When they put that together, the team of 4 created a channel. Like at that time, it was the Zoom. It was a Zoom chat, and that's what they called it. Accuracy that saves lives. And everything that they did went back to that. went back to that. And when they worked with IT or when they worked with another department, it came back to that. And you could see that what they did, they actually had better outcomes that and they actually met goals faster. It was so neat to see them work. The second tool, narrative alignment maps. These help teams visualize the common threads that emerge from vision circles. The method borrows from systems thinking it in translating individual stories into a collective meaning. To do this, you might use sticky notes, mural boards, or digital whiteboards, plotting out values, emotions, and key phrases that surface. I like the whiteboards, and I think we had a whiteboard that had sticky notes. That was kind of cool. So everybody wrote on their sticky note and put it on the whiteboard. Let me give you an example. In an academic program, narrative mapping revealed that while faculty described their mission in terms of student excellence, students actually described it as belonging and empowerment. Okay. Um, the map okay. Recognizing the gap that led to targeted this meant that we looked at what they said, we looked at what our mission was, and we looked at what students said as far as belonging and empowerment, and we created an initiative that basically brought both of those together. We created mentoring that didn't focus on the assignments. We created mentoring that actually focused on grit and self-efficacy, and we taught the mentors to teach that to the students, and that actually created some student excellence. Shared Vision canvases, it's a one-page blueprint. It connects all of those different things. It connects purpose, core values, aspiration, key holders. It's a tool that was inspired by design thinkings and methodologies. And finally, we need to close up with feedback loops. Systems thinking. It teaches us that no vision is static. It's really important to involve people, context, goals. It might include quarterly reflection surveys, focus groups, or a short pulse check-in. Next slide. The personal why is important because it invites participants to explore meaning and motivation. There are 3 questions in this. 1, what is your personal why? This question uncovers what drives us internally. It's the intrinsic motivation that comes from our work. Question number 2, how does it connect to your team's purpose? Once the individual's purposes are clarified, this next step is connection. How do you connect to this? And the third question is, what would a shared vision look like for your group? We shift from introspection to imagination, and imagination creates this shared piece over here. Next slide, please. Sustaining a shared vision. It's really important to not just talk about it, but to sustain it, to make it a living system. And we do that by first integration. Every decision, every strategic operational piece should come back to the shared vision. Second, link the shared vision to performance and development goals. Really important that you connect the collective purpose so that people understand not only what they do, but why. Third, celebrate victories and embody the mission, embody the vision. Remember that everything aligns and it becomes stronger the more that people come together. A shared vision isn't fixed, it evolves. Finally, treat the vision as a living system, not a static document. You need those feedback loops for continual dialogue between vision, action, and reflection. It's not about a rhythm or rigidity. It really is about alignment, truly alignment. When there is a genuine vision, people excel and learn, not because they're told to, but because they want to. Our goal as leaders is to keep that want alive. Next slide, please. And as we close up, I just want to share again some of the key points that we discussed today. It was understanding the principle of shared vision. It was linking vision to motivation theory, self-determination theories and expectancy theory. It was exploring real-world examples, building your team's shared vision, and having tools for a sustained engagement. I want to thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you today. Next slide, please. If you are interested, these are some references and these are some of the sources that really support the shared vision mission and how it works. And next slide, please. We have just a few minutes for questions and answers. And Andre put on there, please use the survey linked in the chat to nominate TLC presentations for conference awards and share your feedback on this presentation. I appreciate you guys working and sharing in the chat with me. It was great to talk to you guys.
Marjorie, thank you very much for sharing that presentation with us. That was great. So again, the link is in the chat where you can vote and leave your feedback. So please go to the link, hint, hint, and vote. Let's vote for Marjorie here. And I hope you all enjoy. I'm off to another presentation. I have to step out, but thank you all for joining us, and I hope you're enjoying TLC.